Welcome to this week's edition of Kibbitzing with Kagan, brief conversations with people I find fascinating. So I've known Amanda Katz, Amanda Katz, for a million billion years, and she is the executive director, CEO of JCADA, the Jewish Coalition Against Domestic Abuse. Amanda, thank you so much for all you do, and thank you for taking time to chat today.
Thank you for having me. Do you remember when we met 25 years ago?
Through AJC, the American Jewish Committee.
Yes.
You were on staff, I was on board, you were this dynamic young rock star, and now look at you, all the things. So I should say to viewers or listeners, I have a bit of a cough, so I am going to try to stay hydrated and not cough, but I apologize in advance if I do. So, Amanda, you got a BA in art history from George Washington, and then later came back, went to Graz and got a master's in nonprofit management and Jewish communal service, which is just such a cool topic. Let's start with getting a major degree in art history. Most parents and grandparents would say you'll never get a job. Why did you choose art history, and what's your response to people who say it's a terrible major?
So my parents said, "That's wonderful.
Nice.
You need a strong liberal arts education. We are sending you to a phenomenal school that was the right fit for me, and we could do no wrong. I had the opportunity to, get this incredible education, to be down the street from these beautiful museums. I
Yes.
mean, what a gift. And I was able to do research in the National Archives. I mean, it really is, bar none, a phenomenal program and a place to do it. So I say to all those, naysayers that
Yes.
the arts are needed. They are a wonderful place for people to be creative. And, you have to do what you're passionate about. And it led me to my first internship,
Yes.
which was at the Jewish Historical Society of
Yep.
Greater Washington. And that led me to my first job. So,
Amazing. So, as the senator on the Maryland State Arts Council and the host for 21 years now of a concert series, I completely endorse the importance of the arts. So let's pivot though to your really wonderful career. You have worked almost exclusively within the Jewish community, other than Mothers Against Drunk Driving, so important. But the Jewish Historical Society, which you just mentioned, the DC JCC, Jewish Community Center, the American Jewish Committee, as we said, B'nai Tzedek, a local synagogue, and now JCADA. How do you bring your Jewish values to your leadership style, and why is it important to you to work within the Jewish community?
so I was raised by a father who said, go to state school, elope, and don't work for nonprofits.
Oh my. Okay.
And
None of the above.
my siblings and I didn't take any of that advice.
Funny.
And he remained to this day one of my greatest fans and
Oh,
supporters. I think that the Jewish values I was raised with were infused in everything we did. And so when I did go to college, I found Hillel at GW, which was a phenomenal place for me to meet my bestest friends who are still friends of mine today and to really grow my leadership skills. And when I took that into my career, I found that this was a place I was comfortable. This was a place where, regardless of which agency I was working in, my family values, my capacity to honor my religion and my religious beliefs was always taken into account. And that was really where my values lie. And if you're working from your values, you're going to be okay.
so it's not just because if you work for a Jewish communal organization, you get all the Jewish holidays off, which is like 25 million of them.
But only if they fall on the weekdays.
Oh, that's a good call. That's true. Uh, you have two children, Becca and Lynx. Are you raising them within the Jewish community, and how active and committed are they?
So, actually, my older child, Rebecca, is at Goucher College, and she is the tzedek chair of the Goucher Hillel. I could not be
Amazing.
more proud.
Yes.
She's part of one of their learning courses, and she has really embraced Judaism. She was in a Jewish choir. I mean, she really is living that full life. My other child goes by the name Lainey,
Oh, how do I
and
link? Sorry. Okay.
okay, you have editing.
Okay.
Uh, Lainey is a 15-year-old in high school and recently had a B'nai Mitzvah and was
Nice.
able to come to Judaism when she was ready to be welcomed into the Jewish community as an adult. So
Nice.
I think that's just, part of, who we are, the rhythm of our lives. So I really think that we live in the perfect county to do that also.
Fantastic. So let's pivot to JCADA. Why don't you talk about the history, the services you provide, and just give us a bit of an overview to folks who may not be familiar with this really important nonprofit organization in Montgomery County.
So 25 years ago, two phenomenal women, Lisa Levy and Barbara Zackheim, both approached the Federation of Greater Washington and said, I saw an article in the Washington Jewish Week that named domestic violence as a thing that happens in Jewish homes.
Yes.
And we have no uh, support service or social service net for those folks in a culturally specific way that the Jewish community needs.
Hmm.
They then met each other and hosted one of those famous living room meetings that everyone still talks about
Hmm.
and crafted this incredible agency. They started in a closet at the Federation
Wow.
with one, counselor who was informed with trauma care.
Mm.
And we have grown now to 20 people on staff. We
Wow.
provide therapy that is really trauma responsive therapy to those who've experienced intimate partner violence. We provide victim advocacy, which is helping someone to access public benefits, find food, housing, clothing, the basic needs, so that just like in Maslow's hierarchy, once they feel safe, they can really access the therapies that they need in order to feel safe and empowered.
So Maslow's hierarchy. So you start with food and shelter, and you move your way up
Yes.
to sort
Yes,
of less fundamental but equally important, you know.
exactly. Exactly.
Uh,
Um,
mhm.
oh, I didn't want to interrupt
So,
you.
yeah, no. So I just wanted you to amplify a little bit more. How does someone hear about you? So someone is being abused by an intimate partner. They've never heard of JCADA. How do they get to you?
So there's multiple ways. First, hopefully if they Google our keywords, we'll catch their eye.
Hmm.
Second, if they are in the Jewish community, our signs are famous. They're called bathroom signs.
Yes,
They're
they
in
are.
intimate places, the back of a stall or a bride's room, or even the snack room for a break room for a local Jewish organization can be a place to hang the sign.
Hmm.
And it really lays out what a healthy relationship should not include. And by
Hmm.
giving someone those clues, they can say, huh, I've experienced some of these things. I'm uncomfortable in my relationship, or I feel scared,
Hmm.
or name I don't have access to funds.
That's what I was going to
Um,
say. So it's not about
right?
violence. So
Correct.
it's not letting you see your friends. It's controlling your money.
Controlling your social life, controlling your money. It can be spiritual abuse, which is forcing or not allowing you to practice your own religious
Mm.
beliefs. It can be physical, it can be emotional. So these scars exist on so many different levels. And with the help of our counselors and our victim advocates, who are highly, highly trained and skilled to figure out what's going on within the relationship and then really get the person what they need to start their own journey to empowerment and healing.
So if someone calls 911 or the suicide and crisis hotline 988, if people don't know about that, please spread the word about 988. Will they get referred? Is there training and partnership with those organizations?
Absolutely. So all local police agencies will work with most likely the crisis center at in a community. So, for example, Montgomery County, where we are sitting, the call will be filtered through to the crisis center, and then if someone is ready for long-term therapy, they will get referred to us. And the other important piece to know, because we have so many phone calls and so many people who need help, we do have a wait list. And
Mm,
that's an interesting conundrum. Someone
yeah.
has gotten up the courage to call. We see them for a stabilization session, and we're giving them access to our groups. These can be for Jewish women, immigrants, moms. We have groups of people who do art and poetry and different resiliency, yoga, things that help them
Yes.
stay grounded and create community. And then when the opening comes along with one of our therapists, we can get them into that long-term one-on-one therapy time.
So in the meantime, so first off, do you call these people, mostly women, but not exclusively, do you call them survivors or victims? What terminology and how do you encourage people to think about their situations?
We love to use the word survivor, and victim is a technical term, someone who's been victimized in a legal sense.
Mhm.
So I think that the word survivor feels more empowering, and it has an actual technical definition that is different.
So if a
Um,
survivor reaches out
mhm,
and feels like their life is in danger or their health or safety is in danger, with or without possibly children living in the same home,
mhm.
is housing, what is that something that JCADA helps with or partners with others?
We partner with others. So we're part of continuums of care in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And understanding the various jurisdictions is really the superpower of our victim advocates. They understand how to navigate what is very complicated systems that society has set up to help the most vulnerable folks.
Mhm.
And we don't want someone to jump from place to place and have to make a lot of calls themselves.
Yes.
So we try to all work together and network so that we are really supporting that survivor in a way that feels the most meaningful to them.
Uh, Two quick questions.
Mhm.
Geographic area,
Mhm.
and you have the J in your name, your first letter. Is it only serving Jewish survivors?
So I'll go reverse. So we do not only serve Jewish survivors, we serve everyone and anyone in the greater Washington area who
Mhm.
has experienced intimate partner violence and is over the age of 16. We are mirrored or based on the catchment area of the are based on
Jewish.
the catchment area of the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington. So that is the city of DC, and then the Montgomery and PG County suburbs in Maryland, and then what we
Georges.
call Northern Virginia,
Mhm.
which goes all the way from Loudoun down through Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax. So we're really in three different jurisdictions, and it's complicated. And we want to be able to reach all 300,000 Jews who are in the greater Washington area. And that is why we do our education programs, um, which means that we are teaching teenagers and adults the differences in healthy and unhealthy
Yes.
behaviors in a relationship.
Yes.
And we want to lower the tolerance of abuse in our community. So we work with leadership of different agencies and rabbis, cantors, religious school directors, anyone who would like an education team to come out, we are there for them.
Yes.
And my team, these folks are so creative. There are two people on staff who are responsible for education, and it's really half of our mission.
It's great.
And we're trying to work ourselves out of a job. We
Yes.
would like for people to not experience abuse in their relationships. Got to start super early. We start in sixth grade.
Amazing. So there historically used to be, at least in the Jewish community, and frankly, probably everywhere, some degree of victims feeling ashamed.
Mm.
They brought it on themselves. They're not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, whatever that is. Um, how how has that changed so that people get it, that it's the abuser's fault? How is that talked about? And does celebrity abuse help in social media and in the mainstream
Mm.
media, or is that too distracting?
It depends on the story and the survivor and how they receive it
Mm,
with the celebrities.
hmm.
Um, some folks really benefit from understanding that abuse happens in such a clear pattern and it is repeated so often that it really is not about the victim or anything they could have or would have done differently. It is about the abuser and the abuser's patterns, their thoughts, and their behaviors.
Hmm.
And
And their
so
words, their
it
actions and their
works
words. Hmm.
until you start to break that down,
Yes.
you shine a light on that not working
Hmm.
for the other person in the relationship,
Hmm.
and that not working for this community. When we put a convicted rapist in the White House, it's very hard to talk. I'm sorry.
No, it's just no, 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 no. It's just
Is
so
it
dramatic. No, go
okay?
ahead.
I didn't know.
Please.
When we
That was
put in
just my oi. This is
yeah,
PTSD and fear for the future. Yes.
when we put a convicted rapist in the White House,
Yes.
and then we tell teenagers that there's consequences for their actions, we
Mm,
have a very tough road ahead of us
hmm.
to make that clear to them that consent and that respect for each other is extremely important. The other piece I think that's changing for these teenagers, and you can tell me, because I know you talk to a lot of kids in the high schools and middle schools, we talk a lot about self-worth
Yeah.
and value identification. If you can identify what your values are and what you're looking for in a relationship and stick with it,
Hmm.
when you start to see those behaviors that go against what you believe you deserve,
Hmm.
you're going to stand up for yourself. And we're
Yes.
teaching these kids the skills, not
Yes.
just the recognition of what that feeling is, but the skill of how to advocate. And we tell kids, find a trusted adult.
Yes.
Now we train the trusted adults. We train the teachers and the guidance counselors and all the folks who are around these kids who they may
Yes.
turn to so that
Yes.
they know how to respond.
So do you personally, or does JCADA believe in fixing it? Can couples counseling, can therapy save a relationship where there is physical or emotional abuse? I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again.
Couples counseling does not work in an abusive relationship. So you are not coming at any of your issues on level playing ground. And I highly recommend everyone read the book, Why Does He Do That?
Mm, mm,
It is written by a gentleman who has worked with over 2,000 abusers.
wow.
There are abuser intervention programs all over the country. JCADA works with the survivors. We don't, we refer abusers to other people who are doing a beautiful job,
Mm,
really helping them understand their behavior in the context of what is acceptable
yes.
in the relationship and what's acceptable to society. Um, by reading Why Does He Do This? You really it starts to break down all those patterns and gives you a lot of recognition of what the abuser is trying to get out of the relationship.
Wow. Okay.
Cannot you can counsel that person if they want to change,
Hmm.
but that's not a couples counseling situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Statistically, there's a lot of multi-generational abuse
Mm.
that the survivor passes it on. how do you break that pattern?
Cycle.
What's the
Yeah.
answer to that?
Education, talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are Maryland laws on domestic violence, domestic abuse, are they sufficient? And how do they compare to other states?
Um, so nothing's ever going to be sufficient until
Yes,
all
yes,
survivors have access to the safety that they need. And
yes.
so there are some wonderful things that have been put in place in Maryland. Um, but for example, just last year, we passed the law that prevented someone from using marriage as a defense of rape.
Yes. Yep. And consent. Former
And then we also
Senator
passed,
Ariana
correct.
Kelly. Yes means yes.
Yes means yes. But why it took
Right.
years of work from folks that had to fight for that right to not have their body touched
Mm-hmm.
in a way that they don't want,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's painful. I think Maryland, is going to be much better than a lot of states maybe in the middle of the country.
Sure.
We also benefit from a strong relationship with the Governor's Office on Crime Control and Prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And JCADA receives funding not only from Maryland, but also DC and Virginia, uh, and the federal government and the counties of Montgomery County. And I think that, it's a multi-layered effort to really get the most funding to the right places. Um, Very interestingly, when we break down where the majority of our clients are coming from
Mm-hmm.
by zip code,
Mm-hmm.
we have, um, we know then where to go to really bring more services, more education into
Yes.
that pocket of the community.
So I had funding on my list to ask you about. What if someone watching or listening to our Kibitz wants to support your work? Where would they go and how could they support your efforts?
So JCADA.org, JCADA.org has everything. Um, we have so many ways that someone can really not just write a check, which we love a check, we
Yes.
love we love a credit card gift. Becoming a monthly donor
Mm-hmm.
sustains the work so that we don't get concerned about our cash flow throughout the year,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The last thing you want is your executive director up all night worried,
Yes.
right? We have a facility dog, Tahoe, who
I was
sits
gonna,
in.
I have Tahoe on here. Yes.
Yes, he sits in
Tell.
on therapy sessions and he can go to court in the hospital with clients. And I mean, he's just a sweet, sweet dog. He was trained by Hero Dogs,
Mm,
and he's really also a big support to the staff
nice.
because this is not an easy
I
place to
was,
live.
yep. You're half a step ahead of me in each of your things. Good for you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask
So,
about your own mental health and that of your staff. Do you
oh,
provide, do you
yeah.
provide support, access, confidential?
Yeah, we first of all, we have a 35-hour work week. We have unlimited paid time off. We have not required people to come back into the office. We have a lot of ways that we're taking care of our staff
Mm.
because secondary trauma is very real.
Define what that is.
Um,
Secondary trauma.
Secondary trauma is when you have witnessed, experienced, or heard about someone
Yes.
else's trauma
Mm-hmm.
and you take it on as if it has happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
It is terrifying. As someone who's experienced it, listening to a dear, dear friend tell her story many
Mm,
years ago,
mm,
I I know firsthand what it means to take on someone else's pain. And the only way our staff can maintain years and years of work, we
yes.
we we have people who've been there for a long time, is to be highly trained. They themselves have EMDR training, which is a trauma modality.
Emergency medical.
No, eye movement.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, oh gosh, I forgot the
Okay.
acronym. You're right. I
EMDR.
shouldn't have used it.
All right.
EMDR,
Okay.
we can leave that out. So they use different trauma modalities with
Okay.
their clients that they themselves are highly trained in, and that's part of keeping yourself healthy.
Yes.
So I check
Okay.
in with them, and I do an audit, and I make sure everybody takes at least 2 weeks a year.
Nice.
Sometimes I have to encourage them to
Yes.
do that.
Yes. Can you start with me? Let me ask some quick questions.
Sure.
Uh, First, if someone has their primary language isn't English, can they get services from JCADA?
Absolutely. We have phone and in-person interpretation.
Okay. Can they go by text or phone or Zoom? Do they have to show up in person to get services?
So interestingly, since the pandemic, most of our clients have wanted to stay online. So we have Zoom sessions, and we can do that with an interpretation as well.
What's your biggest fear for the incoming Trump administration? What's the worst thing that could happen in domestic
Uh,
violence or to JCADA?
I think it's going to be a greater societal unleashing of anger, misogyny, the sense of entitlement, and the sense that there's some kind of scarcity of resources out there, that there's not enough for everyone,
Mm,
which is just antithetical to our values as an agency, that
yes.
everyone deserves to be safe and empowered. And so financial literacy, all the things that we do to help someone find their way. I'm afraid that those kinds of efforts are not going to, we start to lose funding. Um, just
Yeah.
have to figure it out as we go.
Two more questions and then we will wrap up with our Fast Five. First, the Hamas terrorist attacks on October 7th included sexual violence. And Sheryl Sandberg, bless her heart, made a documentary that captured some of those stories because it wasn't being talked about. Why don't you talk briefly about October 7th and the impact?
Yeah, I'm wearing my dog tag. I think of
So am
the
I.
twinsies. I think
Lindsay.
about the hostages every day.
Yes.
And the folks on staff who are Jewish, Israeli, not Jewish, who care
Yes.
so deeply about the safety of our community. We're just devastated on the 7th, and it has just continued. We have experienced anti-Semitism as Jews in the sexual assault and domestic violence arena. So there's been women kicked out of sexual assault support groups because they were Jewish.
Oh my
Um, there's
gosh.
there's been instances of Jewish agencies being kicked out of coalitions simply because they're Jewish, but they're advocating for something like a universal preschool,
Mm,
funding.
wow.
So when you experience silence from your community partners,
Yes.
as I have out in the world, you really learn to count on the folks who are in the community. And it's been rough. And our clients have also had very different and new stories. They're either Israeli or Jewish and have experienced anti-Semitism, even by a spouse. It's like another form of abuse, because abusers will adapt to any new
So sorry.
situation. So
So sorry. So
it's
let's end on a high note here.
okay.
Amanda, tell me a success story. Someone who came to you and you were able to really help turn her life around.
Um, uh, Gosh, there's a wonderful woman who had experienced horrific physical violence from her spouse, and our team was able to not only like meet her where she was with her physical recovery, so being in the hospital and understanding what the forensic um, uh, um,
Injuries.
exam
Oh,
would
okay.
would show,
Hmm.
medical exam, but
Hmm.
also because of her injuries, she suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Oh God.
So that brings us to a different kind of therapy that they were utilizing. Because of her injuries, she needed a wheelchair. We were able to bring her a wheelchair. Because of her injuries, she needs to be in a shelter that's ADA compliant. Um, that's not always available. So getting her into the right kind of shelter. So we were able to do all of this for this one client who's so grateful. And she loves creating sewing projects and was able to sew Halloween costumes for her
Oh,
children.
yes.
And that's safely enabled her to do what she loves to do. And I think that's very, very wonderful story.
That's great. Great, 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 great. Well, Amanda Katz, Jewish Coalition Against Domestic Abuse, JCADA. 5 years, almost 6 years, executive director. Thank you. It's time for your fast five. 5 quick questions, 5 quick answer.
Like,
And some of them are quick, some of them are easy. Some of them. Question number one. If you could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would you choose?
my Bubby.
Nice. Bubby, your grandma.
Bubby is grandma in Yiddish.
Okay. Question number two. What is your favorite family tradition?
Oh, Hanukkah matching
Adorable.
pajamas.
I love that. Question three. Do you have a favorite movie or book that you've seen or read more than once?
Oh gosh, All the Light We Cannot See,
Uh-huh.
book I've read multiple times,
Mm.
and I love the movie When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, totally cute.
Yeah.
Question number four. What is something that reliably makes you laugh?
Oh, Seinfeld.
Okay.
Hmm.
And question number five, the question I ask all of my guests, each of my guests, Amanda Cast, what is your hidden secret superpower? What is a skill or talent you have, something you're really good at that most folks can't do?
I love to sing
Yes, you worked as a cantor, as a
a little
cantorial
bit,
soloist for a while.
and it was just at Kol Shalom. I belong to a Kol Shalom congregation in Rockville, and we did
Yes.
a Purim spiel last year that was so much fun. And I'm actually going to be in a play there this weekend about
Nice.
interfaith families. So
Amazing.
the stage, yeah.
Amazing. Very fun. Well, Amanda, what you do is so much about the Jewish value of tikkun olam, repairing the world. And that's what you do every day for women and men in crisis, in need. So bless you. Thank you for all that you do, for all that Jakeda does. And thank you for taking time to chat today.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Great to see you. Look forward to
Great
seeing
to
you
see
again
you.
soon. Bye.